Through the latest Q&A session, we learned that Galatea will receive an identity switch, although that's about all we know so far. We have yet to receive any more confirmed information on whether she will be a survivor or a hunter, what she will look like, what her role will be, and so on. This, however, has gotten many people hyped and theorizing about what Galatea's ID switch might be. Fan theories and speculations have been scattered everywhere. And today, I kinda want to take you through several of the speculations about her ID switch. I gathered these speculations from various social media platforms, but most of them came from the comments of you guys sharing your thoughts about her ID switch. So, I want to say thank you for all of your thoughts. Well, let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing I want to discuss is her role. This is quite interesting because this has not yet been confirmed by the devs, but some fans have already taken certain fan theories as if they were solid information. For context, during the Q&A session in July, the devs said that Galatea will receive an identity, but not in Group 0. Now, this statement is really vague. It's quite similar to whatever your partner says when they want to break up, by the way. Admit it, okay? Anyway, there are basically two ways we can interpret it. The first interpretation is that Galatea will receive an identity switch outside the Group 0 game. In other words, her identity switch would join the game after Game 0, potentially in Game 1 or Game 4B if there is one. The second interpretation, however, is that Galatea will receive an identity switch, but not during the events of Group 0. This doesn't necessarily mean that her identity switch will join the game outside Game 0. See the difference? In the first interpretation, Galatea's identity switch belongs to a point in the timeline after Group 0. In the second interpretation, Galatea's identity switch could still be part of the Group 0 timeline, but simply wouldn't be revealed during the Game 0 event itself. And these two interpretations lead to very different outcomes. Those who believe Galatea will receive a survivor identity switch think that the Galatea we currently play, the one in the wheelchair, is actually the hunter version that appears after Game 0. Meanwhile, the Galatea shown during Game 0 could become her upcoming survivor form, although that form wouldn't be revealed during the Game 0 event. Some other who supports this theory also connect Galatea's lore into it, particularly the one in the Truth and Inference side story. The other interpretation leads to a different possibility. Galatea's identity switch happens after Game 0 inches terms of the timeline. And if that's the case, then if Galatea were to receive a survivor form, she would presumably still have to be in a wheelchair, because timeline-wise, Galatea had already been in the wheelchair after Game 0 ends. For some, this is difficult to imagine. Being a survivor, at least in the gameplay, requires someone to be able to vault window and pallets. This is rather hard to be applicable to the game, such as how to animate her movement or such. So, based on the second interpretation here, a hunter-to-hunter ID switch is more plausible. Like I said before, this is already quite confusing. The worst part, however, is that while us fans are busy arguing over the interpretation, maybe to the point of waging war through social media, I bet the devs are just busy drinking tea or whatever. In which case, good game, devs. From this point on, however, I'll continue the interpretation with the survivor Galatea, since I cannot find any interesting theories about her hunter-to-hunter ID switch. If you have any, though, feel free to share it. Now let's talk about her appearance. One thing about Galatea is that she is confirmed to have dwarfism, so her height is actually quite important here. I tried asking about this in the Discord community, and the answer I got was that Galatea's survivor form would likely be shorter than the average survivor, although she would still be taller than Little Girl. One lore enthusiast told me that her possible height could be comparable to the little Orpheus that Alice spawns when she uses her skill. Some others suggested that her height would be roughly equal to Ada and Helena. Honestly, I find that a little difficult to imagine, because Galatea has dwarfism, while Ada and Helena do not. That said, we can actually get a glimpse of her height in the Game Zero trailer. I can't really tell how tall she is from that though, so I don't want to give a definitive answer. The only thing I can confidently say is that she has dwarfism, and personally, I think she would be smaller than most survivors. As for her outfit, I couldn't say for sure what she would wear either. Maybe it will be similar to what we saw in the Game Zero trailer. Still, if you search for Survivor Galatea, you can find several interesting fan concepts. Though, frankly speaking, her appearance isn't the only thing fans have been theorizing about. If Galatea really does become a survivor, what would she actually do in the game? Will she bit the hunter with statues? Will she ride the statues? Up until I write the script, we don't have any confirmed information about her abilities yet. The devs haven't given us any clues about what kind of tool she would use, or what her potential skill set could be. However, based on some of the theories surrounding her identity switch, there are actually several interesting possibilities for what Galatea's kit could look like. From what I gathered through the community post I made the other day, several possible skill sets for Galatea emerged, thanks to the creativity of the fans. There's one particular theory that caught my eye. This one came from someone named Scream for Donuts. They mentioned that they would like to see Survivor Galatea able to build stone pallets using her sculptor skills. In essence, this version of Survivor Galatea would be able to recreate broken pallets. I honestly really like the idea. It's unique, and so far, there's no survivor who is able to do something like that. Back then, I actually had a concept myself for a character whose role was a carpenter named John Dick. As a carpenter, his skill would revolve around rebuilding broken pallets until his hammer eventually breaks. I'm no good at drawing, so I could only imagine that character in my head. So, it's actually quite relieving and joyful to realize that someone else came up with a similar idea. Then there's another idea from someone named Fernanda Olguin. They mentioned that they would like to see Survivor Galatea able to ride a sculpture to gain some distance from the hunter, or use the sculpture to block pathways between walls, broken pallets, doors, and so on. The riding part is somewhat similar to Little Girl or Matador, I guess, but I really like the concept of Galatea being able to use her sculptures to block a pathway. I think it's somewhat similar to the previous skill we discussed, although this one wouldn't necessarily require a broken pallet. All in all, I like the idea. An account named Sindako also gave their perspective. In their version, Survivor Galatea would be able to create a sculpture in the middle of a match, taking several seconds to do so, similar to how Edgar creates his paintings. Once the sculpture is finished, it could be used as a projectile against the hunter. The hunter would then be stunned if the sculpture hits a wall. In other words, this would be Galatea's own skill that she could directly use against the hunter. In my opinion, this idea is pretty refreshing. However, we already have some somewhat similar skill sets in the game, such as the ones belonging to Batter and Prospector. I still prefer the ability to rebuild pallets, though. And then, we have quite possibly the biggest plot twist of them all. An idea from Amrit suggests that Survivor Galatea would receive a car, and simply drive around the map with it. Well, that's certainly an idea. Perhaps we should just give every character in this game a car as well. Then turn Identity 5 into Forza Horizon or Gran Turismo. Or maybe GTA, if you want to take it to another level. Fun fact about cars in IDV, by the way. The car that Alice uses shouldn't actually exist until the 1920s. Alice's story is set in 1902, so it's quite nonsensical for a car of that model to exist in Identity 5. But hey, what do you expect from IDV's timeline? It's a disaster anyway. Anyway, I believe there are still many possibilities if we start theorizing about her overall abilities. But let's stop here for now, and give some room to another kind of theory. Lore. Surely we can't forget to yap about Galatea's identity switch lore as well, right? Honestly, I can't really say much about Galatea's identity switch lore, since her character hasn't even been released yet. However, if we look at some of the previous identity switches that received the same letters as their original characters, aside from Alice, I guess Galatea's birthday letter could potentially be the same as her original Hunter's letter. This is purely speculative, of course, but that's what I believe could happen. Galatea was born into a family of artists and was expected to continue the family's artistic tradition. Everything seemed to be going well initially, until it was discovered that Galatea had dwarfism. This affected her both physically and mentally, and as a result, her creativity eventually reached a bottleneck. One day, a certain manor owner commissioned her to restore several sculptures at the manor, which Galatea accepted. Her official backstory mentions that it is unknown what exactly happened at the manor. However, one theory suggests that Game Zero happened during this period, when Galatea was commissioned by the manor owner to restore the statues there. A possible clue for this can be seen in the Game Zero trailer. There, we can see Galatea working on the statues, which further fuels this theory. Of course, there are several other theories too. One of them suggests that Galatea actually visited the manor 3 times, with Game Zero taking place during her second visit. Well, until everything is officially confirmed, we can only speculate. After all, that's the fun part of Identity 5 lore, and also the confusing part. Honestly speaking, I've become less interested in theorizing sometimes, because the IDV story has had quite a few retcons over the years. That's just the me thing though, since some lore enthusiasts I found within the community are still eager to dive into theories. Also, if you have any other theories regarding Galatea's lore, or like, any aspect of her identity switch in general, feel free to share them in the comments. I'd love to see the theories from different perspectives as well. For now, I'll just wait for her release. I wouldn't want to speculate about the release date. That's entirely up to the devs. I'll just sit here and wait, while watching Manchester United play. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.